She dumped me with, "We will always be friends, though." I answered, "Absolutely." Weeks later, she found out friendship didn't include rent money, emotional support, or car maintenance, in particular, the moment I started dating her roommate. The end of my 2-year relationship happened on a Tuesday night. It was not a screaming match or a dramatic, tear-filled fight. It was calm and condescending and ended with the most offensive words a person can hear: "We will always be friends, though." My now ex, Amanda, had been acting aloof for weeks. She's an artist, or at least that's what she calls herself. Mainly, it means she works part-time at a cafe, spends the rest of her day talking about the novel she's going to publish one day, and looks down on people like me who really work for a living. I own a small venture that repairs classic cars. I work with my hands. To her and her fancy art schoolmates, that made me simple. Reliable, yet simple, a durable piece of furniture you keep in the living room but don't truly think about. That night, she sat me down on a sofa in our house, a house where my income covered around 80% of the bills, and gave me the speech. She had certainly been practicing it. It was full of unclear nonsense about having to nourish her creative nature and how she was trapped by our relationship. The message was loud and clear. I, with my grease-stained hands and my practical, rational mind, was not thrilling enough for her huge artistic destiny. I didn't argue with her. I didn't try to change her mind. I'm a mechanic. When an engine fails, you don't try reasoning with it. You understand that it's broken, and you either repair it or you scrap it. And this relationship was ended. Therefore, I just sat there, listening while she laid out the conditions of her exit from my life. And then came one final patronizing blow. She placed her hand on my knee, her demeanor an excellent combination of sympathy and self-importance. "We'll always be friends though, right?" she said as if she were bestowing a tremendous honor upon me. She expected me to be appreciative. She expected me to just smile along, delighted to be kept in her circle as a platonic, trustworthy resource, the ever-present Jack, always there to fix her vehicle or assist with the bills, but now without any of the messy expectations of a genuine relationship. In that moment, something flipped in my mind. The pain and disappointment I could have felt were suddenly taken away by a cold, brutal clarity. She wasn't breaking up with a partner. She was reclassifying an asset. I looked at her incredibly composed, real-looking face, and I gave her a calm, even smile. "Definitely," I said. The relief that swept over her was clear. She accomplished it. She had her freedom, but she had managed to preserve her safety net. She had no clue that my definition of friendship was about to become a very painful and costly lesson for her. "Oh, fantastic," she said, her smile now real. "I'm happy that you're being so mature about this." "Of course," I responded, rising up from the sofa. "That's what friends are for. Therefore, as your new friend, let me give you some kind advice. You must begin looking for a roommate to pay my part of the rent, because I'll be moving out this weekend. My friendship is free, but my share of the expenses is not." The smile on her face didn't simply disappear, it shattered. "What? You're moving out? But you cannot. Where am I supposed to go?" "I'm not sure," I responded, moving towards the bedroom to begin packing. "But I'm sure a creative artist like you will figure it out. Friends trust each other, right?" Update 1, the notion of me truly leaving was something Amanda's brain simply could not process. For the next hour, she followed me from room to room as I began collecting my belongings. Her arguments grew from confusion to panic to ignite anger. "You can't just leave me here," she begged as I started removing my clothes out of the wardrobe we shared. "The contract is in both our names. You're legally accountable." "You're right," I responded, not breaking my rhythm. "We are both legally accountable, so that is why I will continue to pay my part of the rent until the end of this month. That gives you around 3.5 weeks for finding a new roommate to take over my position. Or we can break the rental agreement together, which comes with a $1,000 penalty that we would share. I'm okay with any decision. The choice is yours." The mention of a $1,000 penalty, a sum she certainly did not have, sent a fresh surge of anxiety across her face. Her part-time employment was for what she described as inspiration money, enough to pay for her daily coffee and art materials. I was the one who covered the actual expense of living. I can't afford it. And I can't find a roommate in 3 weeks. You have to stay, Jack. At least till when the contract is up in 6 months. It's the right thing to do. We're friends, remember? Friends don't force friends to live in an uncomfortable, emotionally draining environment, I said, stopping to look at her. That would be terrible. As your friend, I'm giving you the room you need to discover yourself. And I'm taking my space too. It was at that time that our third roommate, Emma, came home. Emma was a veterinary technician who rented the flat's small 2-bedroom. She kept quiet, worked long hours, and mostly tried to remain as far away from Amanda's continuous low-grade drama as possible. She got in, took one look at my open suitcase and Amanda's tear-stained, enraged face, and just sighed. "Don't tell me," she said, her voice worn out. Her car broke down again. Worse. Amanda wept, looking to her for support. "He's abandoning me. He's moving out." Eyes caught me over Amanda's head. I only gave a slight, exhausted shrug. "We broke up," I explained. "I'm collecting my belongings. I'm paid up through the end of the month. After that, you'll need a new roommate." Emma's expression was enigmatic, but she gave a slow, thoughtful nod. "All right," she said. Then, without an additional word, she disappeared into her room and locked the door. She was an expert at non-engagement. Amanda, deprived of an accomplice, spent the rest of the weekend trying every manipulative strategy in the book. She wept. She recalled our first date. She accused me of being an ill-tempered and heartless demon. I didn't accept the bait. I just carried on packing. My responses always passed through the new, frustratingly insignificant lens of our friendship. "You're truly just going to throw away 2 years of memories," she'd scream. "As your friend, I believe it's crucial to concentrate on the future, not the past," I'd respond, my voice filled with a calm, tranquil detachment. The first true test of our new dynamics occurred the following week. I had relocated my belongings into a small rented apartment and was in the process of beginning my new life. I received a telephone call from her on a Tuesday night. "Jack, thank God you responded," she said, her voice a panicked whisper. "The power just went out, and the internet is down. You need to come over and mend it. Did you check the breaker box?" I asked. "The what? I don't understand anything about that. You always just handled it." "The breaker box is in the utility closet in the hallway," I explained slowly. "It's certainly just a tripped switch. You only need to find the one that's out of position and shift it back." "I'm definitely not doing that. It's getting dark, I'm afraid. What if I get struck by electricity? You need to come over, please, Jack, as my friend." There it was. The friendship card. I took a deep breath. "Amanda, as your friend, I'm worried for your safety, but I'm 2 towns far away. It would take me an hour to make it there. The quickest solution is for you to call the emergency services hotline for the apartment complex. That's what it's for. They have someone on call every single day. Their number is on the fridge." There was a time of shocking silence on the other end of the line. She was so used to me having her own on-call handyman that the concept of using a normal, traditional remedy had never even occurred to her. "But they will charge for that, won't they?" she asked, her voice calm. "They might," I said. "But as your friend, I think your comfort and security are worth it, don't you? You have this. Let me know how it goes." I hung up before she started arguing. The calls and messages continued, of course. Several days later, it was about her car making a strange noise. I told her to take it to a trustworthy mechanic. When she complained about the expense, I, as a friend, advised her to open a savings account for car maintenance. Every issue she encountered, an issue I would have once resolved without a second thought, was suddenly met with a wall of calm, soothing, and utterly worthless advice. I was her friend, and friends don't fix your issues for you. They simply pat you on the back and wish you good luck. Update 2. The slow-motion disintegration of Amanda's life continued for the following month, and I had a front-row seat because of my new unlikely friendship with Emma. After I moved out, Emma and I began messaging. It started as some kind of change. She could give me a heads up when Amanda was having a particularly dramatic breakdown, and I would give my sympathy. I learned that Amanda's quest for a roommate was a total disaster. She wasn't seeking someone to split the rent. She was seeking a substitute for me. The advertisement she posted was a laundry list of requirements. The new roommate had to be nice, peaceful, financially stable, and ready to help out with domestic tasks. She was effectively seeking to find a new live-in partner who would also pay her bills. Unsurprisingly, she had no suitors. One evening, Emma messaged me, sounding more worried than normal. Her dog, a scruffy little terrier mix named Buster, was unwell. He was weak and wouldn't eat, and Mother was starting to worry. The emergency veterinary facility was on the opposite side of town, and she was scared to take him on the bus. Amanda is out with some new man she met at a poetry reading, she messaged. I don't know whom else to call. I didn't even think about it. I'm on my way, I said. I drove her and Buster to the clinic. We spent the next 3 hours in the waiting room, discussing everything and nothing. She told me about the crushing burden of law school, and I told her about the exciting experience of bringing an old car back to life with my own hands. We found that we shared the same ironic sense of humor and the same no-nonsense attitude toward life. By the moment the veterinarian came out and informed us Buster was going to be okay, he had just eaten a sock, something had changed between us. I began finding more reasons to see her. I offered to assist her with her own car, a beat-up old sedan that was in worse condition than Amanda's. I spent a Saturday under her hood, changing her oil and changing her spark plugs. I didn't ask for a penny. I did it because I wanted to, because I liked her. We began a relationship secretly at first. It was easy. It was amazing. There was no drama, no deception, just two people who really loved each other's company. We kept it to ourselves. We knew that if Amanda found out, it would ignite a Category 5 hurricane of drama. The envisaged confrontation happened around 2 months following my breakup with Amanda. She had eventually, and luckily, found a new roommate, a young graduate student who was obviously just desperate for a place to call home. I had to go to the apartment to sign the documents to get my name off the lease. Emma just finished her last final of the semester, therefore, I promised her I'd take her out to celebrate afterward. She decided to just come with me to the apartment so we could start our journey from there. The situation in the living room was uncomfortable. The building manager was present along with the new roommate, who already seemed like he was regretting his decision. Amanda was acting cheerful, speaking loudly about her new start and how everything happens for a purpose. As I was signing the last document freeing me from any future accountability for the apartment, Emma, who was standing next to me, reached out and grabbed my hand, a subtle gesture of support, but to Amanda, it was a declaration of war. Her eyes, which had been racing around the room with a frenzied, fake energy, landed on our entwined hands. The fake smile on her face froze, then shattered. It was like watching a dam collapse in slow motion. The color faded from her face, and her eyes were full of a look of such deep, deadly betrayal that it truly took me by surprise. She had lost her partner, her financial support, her handyman, and her emotional punching bag. And now she watched him be replaced in her own living room by the calm, honest roommate she had never even tried to get to know. She didn't scream. She didn't weep. She just looked at our hands. And in that moment, I think she finally understood the full, terrible cost of her friendship.